Okay, so I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to try it while I'm driving, so it should make it even worse. And this time I'm going to publish it on YouTube as well as just Facebook. But so just first of all, to talk about my political views and whatnot, I wouldn't really consider myself a Democrat. I am a liberal and I'm progressive, and as a result, I'm usually forced into a position where I have to rely on Democratic politicians, and but I would not consider myself a Democrat. So starting from there, I'm going to talk about a couple of issues, and the reason that I'm talking about this is because one of the pundits who I have a lot of respect for, who I believe is very rational and intelligent, he said some things that I understand and even agree with a little bit, but don't seem to see how they can. The things he spoke about could be applied in a practical way. So basically what he said is that liberals have a responsibility to get along with the other side. Liberals have a responsibility to bridge the gap. Liberals have and they're not meeting their responsibility. And that was basically what he said. I would have agreed with him more if he used words like empathy and humility. I think that saying that liberals should be more humble, have humility, and have more empathy for other people that think differently or believe differently, and in that way allow us to all communicate better, and we don't have this huge divide. Regardless, I'm going to talk about 3 issues that I've had a very difficult time discussing with people who disagree with me, and issues that have really turned into left-right hot topics. So the 3 issues that I'd like to talk about are climate change, immigration, and I just forgot the third. Isn't that great? Because I'm recording this. So I've already talked about it, and I do it, my last one was unscripted. This is unscripted. These are things I think about all the time. So as a result, they kind of come out as if they're scripted. But basically, the other one is the election. So to talk about the issues with elections in our country, then talk about climate change, and then finally talk about the issues that we're having with once again, I forgot what this time. I brought in the third one that I forgot before, and then I forgot a new one. And no, I'm not doing this intentionally to be funny, but I'm sure that it is. I'm probably going to be able to cut this out. But anyway, the topics are going to be the elections, then we're going to talk about climate change, and then finally immigration. So it's going to be those 3 things that I'm going to try to talk about, and talk about really how what I see as an issue, and then see how am I supposed to relate to another person, talk to another person, come to a consensus, see their side, all these kinds of things that basically, like I said, this pundit brought up. So, first of all, let's talk about the elections. And basically, nobody is outraged, in my opinion, showing enough outrage, enough concern. They're not showing enough that there's any kind of urgency to deal with the fact that somebody from outside this country, it wouldn't matter even if they were inside this country, somebody tampered with our elections. That's it. Somebody tampered with our elections. It doesn't matter if it was Russia, China, terrorists. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was a 14-year-old kid in his parents' garage. There needs to be some outrage. There needs to be some concern. There needs to be somebody that shows that they have a fire under their ass to take care of this. Okay? We are, the foundation of democracy is to have elections that are fair, elections that are, going to really show the output or the reflection. It's going to reflect what the people of this country feel, and they can't be influenced by anything. They have to be fair, and nobody seems to be that upset. And I think a lot of the things with this current administration is that they're not showing concern. They're not bringing this issue up because people are really harping on the fact that it may have influenced the current president, and they are afraid that it's going to show him as not a legitimate president. And I am going to say that I will concede to the fact, I will give you whatever you want, that you won fair and square. You won fair and square. And this noise is going to come up because I'm doing this while driving Uber, and I have to stay online. So that's going to come up periodically. You won fair and square. Now, forget about 2016, forget about November, forget about the elections, forget about Russia, forget about anything you want. What are we going to do to protect our elections from being influenced? That's it. That's the bottom line. Forget about everything else. And the issue, the problem that I run into when I try to present it that way, which I believe is presenting it in a way that I am encouraging conversation, is that it's fake news. That's what I run into. When I say I don't care who's president now, when I say I don't care about the 2016 election, when I say that all that stuff is gone for me, and that all I care about is future elections, I still get it's fake news. It's not real. It's not a real issue. And I can't get past that. So, if I am not presenting this in a way that is incendiary, if I am not presenting this in a way that, please tell me that somehow I'm still being sarcastic, somehow I have a real issue with being sarcastic and not being aware of it. And please, just tell me. I mean, I'd be happy to change it, but if I can't say that, I can't see how I can say that any better than the way I said it to help have a healthy discussion, debate, without pushing somebody else away, without without turning it into a fight. So I that's the best I can come up with. That's the best I can do. That's the best I can, come up with. I guess I can't say anything else. So that's topic number one. Okay, topic number one: the elections. Okay, we need to protect. We need to protect our elections. We need to have fair elections that are not influenced by anybody. Okay. Next, I want to talk about climate change. Now, the way I've started to phrase this for people is a lot of the people that are climate change deniers also seem to have extreme paranoia. about. They seem to have some fairly extreme paranoia about terrorists, and their paranoia about terrorists is, to me, staggering. Yes, I think terrorism is a very important issue. I think that it is something that, from a worldwide standpoint, with all of our allies, with that we should be dealing it, and we should not be dealing with it, in my opinion, by sending troops anywhere, by bombing anybody. I don't believe that any of those methods are going to help make anybody in this country safer. A recent statistic came out where they looked at the number of people that were killed, including 9/11 till today, and that based on those numbers, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice before you than getting killed by a terrorist. So you have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice than you do of being killed by a terrorist. And I try not to. I don't want to use statistics. I don't want to use all that stuff in this. I want to just talk about my feelings, my opinions, common sense. But that one really did hit home for me. So, people who are afraid of terrorists are not concerned about climate change, when climate change could affect everybody on this whole planet, and terrorism is not going to kill everybody on this whole planet. So, anyway, the way I phrase it for these people who are really paranoid about terrorism is, if they are not willing to end our dependence on foreign oil, then they are funding terrorists. Now, I don't believe that this method or this dialogue is as likely to encourage a healthy debate. I believe that this adds to more of the fight, rather than a more peaceful way. But the reality is, it's actually true. All the money that we spend on foreign oil does go to countries where terrorists live, and it adds to their economy. And if when Al Gore came out with this movie, and all of a sudden climate can change, moved out of Burlington, Vermont, and it wasn't just for San Francisco and Vermont, and it wasn't just people who were wearing Birkenstocks with wool socks, and it really became public knowledge, and a lot of people became more and more concerned about conservation and renewable energy, and how you can't be concerned about clean air and clean water. It's just beyond me. How can you not be concerned about clean air and clean water? And how can you possibly believe that pollution is not a bad thing? So, using my approach, I have gotten nowhere. Talking about funding terrorists has gotten nowhere. Talking about any of that. The other thing I like to talk about is that if people who are alarmists, as they like to call us, I'm more alarmed about the elections, by the way, but that's separate too. I said, if the alarmists are wrong, if we're wrong, we will have ended dependence on foreign oil. We will have cleaner air, we'll have cleaner water, and we'll have renewable energy. So, that's the downside. If climate deniers are wrong, living in Florida, I could be under fucking water. Most of the state I live in could be underwater. There's no comparison. The only reason that this is a political debate is because the powers that be in the coal industry and fossil fuel industry have created the same doubt that the cigarette companies were able to do for years. And they found the doctors that would say what they needed them to say. And they found the doctors that could say that smoking really wasn't that bad for you, and there was no correlation between smoking and cancer. And it's basically the exact same plan. And this propaganda, and it goes back to this whole thing. And when I say this, I cannot phrase this statement to somebody who is a denier once again. But if I say it's easier to be fooled than to convince somebody that they were fooled. It's easier to fool somebody than it is to convince them that they were fooled. And I think that's either Robert Downey Jr. or Mark Twain. But it could have been Sam Kinison or Carol Burnett. So it's one of those 7 people right there that said that. It's not me. I'm going with Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens. I forgot about that guy. That other guy, Samuel Clemens. He said a lot of good shit too. So, once again, 2 issues. Very difficult to have a debate because one side denies it completely. They deny it completely. Fake news for the elections and alarmists for climate change. And then there's this whole thing about how many jobs it'll ruin and all that stuff, and it ruin our whole economy. It clearly is, that stuff is 100%. You could get statistics. It's 100%. Somebody can prove that wrong. But I just want to deal with on a common sense level. If alarmists are wrong, we have clean air, clean water, renewable energy, and we have ended dependence on foreign oil, and we are no longer financing directly or indirectly terrorists. That's it. So that's I'm on. So finally, my last thing that I want to talk about. We've talked about the elections, we've talked about climate change, and now immigration. And this is the hardest one for me right now. This is going to be really difficult. I have to do something that I never thought I would have to do. I have to do something that I never thought I would have to do. And that is, I have to agree with Ann Coulter. Please don't stop listening. Please don't turn this off. Please don't start sending me hate mail. I don't want any death threats. I have to agree with Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter said something that is logical and rational, and I cannot possibly disagree with it. I know that sounds so fucked up. So this is what she said. She said she does not believe the number of 11 million people because that number was given out or produced or gathered or generated through the Census Bureau. And the Census Bureau, the people that go out, are considered to be people that work for the federal government. And as a result, somebody that is undocumented, somebody that is illegal, somebody that is afraid of being deported would not speak to somebody that they know or think could possibly have them deported. So anybody that worked for the government. And as a result, that number can't be correct because the people that they need to talk to would most likely not be willing to talk to them. And I can't possibly agree more with that statement. But there is going to be a flip side that I'm going to give to that because, and you can't have it both ways, miss. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, they won't talk to him here, but they will talk to him here. So we're going to get to the other side. Right now, I'm going to do some simple math. These are Nathan statistics. These are not, I cannot prove these statistics. I cannot verify all these numbers, but I'm going to do really simple, what I consider to be really simple math, because I have no choice but to do simple math, because I think math is stupid. and I haven't studied it, and I don't know shit. So it's going to be basic for most of you. And I'm sorry if you don't realize that math is stupid, but it really is. English is very important. It should be taught in schools, and math is, it's like gym class. It's just stupid. It really is. Donald Trump came up with a number of 50 million undocumented, illegal people in this country. I think that might be a little bit high. I think Ann came up with 20 or 25. I'll settle for 30. I'll settle for 30 million, and the reason why is because it really fits my math. So we have close to 350 million people in this country, but I'm going to round it down to 300. 300 million people, 30 million are undocumented. That is 10% of our population. 10% of our population are people who are not here legally. Okay? I can live with that. Great. Now, I have a 90-10 rule. And in all honesty, once again, my 90-10 rule that I use is really out of convenience as well for easy math. And I don't believe that. And I'm going to give an example of my 90-10 rule. My 90-10 rule, I'll give an example of police officers in the United States. 90%, and in reality, I believe that it's 98%. But 90% of police officers in this country became a police officer because they genuinely care about their community, because they genuinely care about other people, because the idea of protecting and serving and helping other people is appealing to them. And I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that that is 90% of police officers. That yes, they want to help and be compensated, and they do care about the benefits and all those things. But really, what motivated them is being a productive member of their community and helping people. And I really and truly believe that. Then there's the other 10%, which I really, once again, believe it's only 2%, but for math's sake, because math is stupid, we'll go with the fact that 10% of the police officers became police officers because they want to retire early, because it's easy money, because they like the benefits, because maybe they were bullied in high school or beat up or whatever. Well, okay, all those stereotypes, all that garbage, that they're wife beaters and they like the power and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, I'm going to apply that same 90-10 to illegal, undocumented citizens in the United States. So, well, they're not citizens, but you get what I mean. So, you do that same 90-10, and you say that 90% of the people that came here illegally came here to work hard, better the lives for their children, and they want to be productive members of our society, of their communities, and they are honest, hardworking people that we should be welcoming with open arms. And once again, I would go as high as 98% again. If this turns off, it's saying that my phone is getting hot. I might have to pick back up. Anyhow, so we have this 90-10 split. Now, a lot of people who I would consider to be prejudiced or discriminatory. I think if you throw away the word racist, which has been thrown around way too much, which has lost meaning, which has lost, I think if you use discrimination, I think if you use prejudice, I think it's really easy for anybody to understand that we all have stereotypes, we all have prejudice, and we don't all have extreme prejudice where we get to the point that we discriminate, but all of a sudden we can start to see that. No, I don't want my wife driving my car because I don't believe that women drive as well. I think that somebody can all of a sudden that have that little light bulb moment. Wait a minute. wait a minute, all women can't drive poorly. All women can't do that. And I think that if we move away, for myself, if I move away from that racist word, but it does seem, and white people, it's not a concern. Nobody is worried about Canadians coming down here. We've heard this 1,000 times. Build a wall to Mexico, no need to build a wall to Canada. You try to bring it up to people, nothing. You get nothing out of them. They try to say no drugs come in from Canada. 100% not true. Anyhow, so here we are. We have 90% of the people that come to this country, good, honest, hardworking people that want to be productive members of our society and communities. And they are trying to better themselves, and they, in turn, will better their surroundings. But there are a lot of people who don't like brown people and can't admit it. So I'm going to go so far as to say this. I'm going to say that 50%, which I 100% do not believe, 50% of the people that come here, 50% of that 30 million people are here to take advantage of us, to get free stuff, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because I don't know what the fuck free stuff they're talking about. They want free stuff and they want to take advantage and they want to da-da-da, okay? 50%. That means it's roughly 5% of the population. 5% of the population cannot possibly bankrupt us. 5% of the population cannot possibly have that much of a negative effect on our deficit. 5% of the people are not gonna all of a sudden be responsible for 90% of our tax dollars. It is ridiculous to try to believe that. It is ridiculous for anybody to think that. I'm sorry. I don't want to do name calling, and I don't want to call you ridiculous if you do believe that. But it is. I mean, I don't know how to get past that. I don't know how to describe that to a person in a way without calling that ridiculous, because it is. So, we have come to the conclusion that 5% of the population may be unproductive. Now, let's get back to Anne. Anne, I agreed with you. Okay? I agreed with you that it's a lot more people. And the reason that it's a lot more people is because these people are less likely to speak to census workers or anybody. Now, if you believe that, which completely makes sense, it's logical, it makes sense, and then why would they speak to people when that they have to get free stuff from? Those same people that they're supposedly getting free stuff from can also report them and have them deported. So they're afraid of census workers, but they're not afraid of people in the welfare office. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? They're only afraid of the census workers. It doesn't make sense, and they're still going to walk into state buildings, federal buildings, whatever it is, wherever they have to go to get this free stuff that you're talking about. So now, Anne, here's how I want you to test it. Here's how I want you to really prove to me how much it's costing me. So here's what you do. Pretend you're from Canada, it's a huge stretch because most people I know from Canada are well-rounded, intelligent, and have a great education. So you're from Canada, and you do not have any papers, no license, no identification, nothing, and you're here illegally. And I want you to go out and see how much free stuff you can get. Find out what get the welfare, get the free medical, the free. Show me what you get. Figure out how much it comes out to a year, and then multiply that by 15 million people yearly, and then tell me how much that comes out to. Okay? So, and if you can do that for me, and now my bitterness is coming out and my sarcasm's coming out a little bit more, because this topic, in my opinion, is just pure racist. So, and I said I wasn't going to use that word, but this particular topic is the one that I really feel the most uncomfortable about, that I feel the most embarrassed about, that I feel the most like, why are people worried about this? Okay. So it roughly comes out to, when I do real math in this, I think it's probably about 1% of our population that are deadbeats, that are these so-called drug dealers, rapists, deadbeats, who just want to suck on the teat of our democracy. So those are my 3 topics. Okay. Those are the 3 areas. And I believe that, yes, this is still recording. Those are the 3 things that I talked about. Those are the 3 things that I want to be able to talk to somebody on the other side, not provoke them, not have them shut down, have a legitimate debate where I can see their side. I can maybe, hopefully, show some empathy, where I can stay humble, where I can look at that rationally and say, those are some valid points. Those are some valid points. So, if you believe, and you can help me, believe that I am not making an effort, and you can help me, please. If you think I am making an effort, I would like to hear some support too. So I just don't want to get bashed on here. I would like to hear both sides. And once again, like I said, this is something that I think is long overdue. My next topic that I'm going to talk about is healthcare, and healthcare, I just believe that it should 100% be handled separately, and there's just so much going on with it right now. But so those 3 topics, which are the security of our elections, the climate change, and then of course immigration. And I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. Thanks.